In the heart of Miami's Biscayne Bay on Virginia Key stands the Miami Marine Stadium, a modernist icon born from ambition and innovation. Opened in 1963, it was the first venue in the United States purpose-built for powerboat racing, a testament to Miami's identity as a marine recreation capital. In the 1960s and 1970s, the Miami Marine Stadium pulsed with life, its concrete arches framing a spectacle unlike any other.
El Estadio Marino de Miami fue construido especialmente para carreras de botes de motor. Allí se han efectuado competencias nacionales muy importantes, así como numerosas carreras de hidroplanos. El Estadio Marino no deja nada fuera. Esta fantástica arena acuática hasta es anfitrión de regatas intercolegiales de remos y competencias de botes de vela.
Boats roared across Biscayne Bay's 1-mile basin, their engines thundering to crowds of thousands. Music legends like Jimmy Buffett and The Who filled the air with sound, their notes carrying over the water as boats bobbed beside the floating stage. Political rallies echoed with fervor, from Nixon's 1972 campaign to Cuban exile gatherings, each moment cementing the stadium's place as Miami's waterfront heart.
All looters will be shot on sightings.
And that's a real gun in your hand?
Yeah.
It's a real shotgun?
This is real bullets.
Yet, in September 1992, after Hurricane Andrew's wrath, the city sealed its gates, declaring it unsafe. The crowds vanished, the stage fell silent, and the basin stilled. Engineering reports later revealed no storm damage, just years of neglect, but the closure held firm. Why does a stadium still structurally sound remain locked in time, abandoned to the elements?
I was born in '43, a Miami kid raised where the bay kissed the shore, salt in the air and freedom in my bones. Back then, Miami was a city coming alive, all sun and swagger, ready to burst. By '63, I was 20, wild-eyed and restless when they unveiled the Miami Marine Stadium on Virginia Key. That place, it was like nothing I'd ever seen, a fortress of concrete rising out of the water, bold as the city itself. I was there from the start, heart racing, ready for the ride. December '63, that first day, it hit me like a wave. The stadium was a marvel, dreamed up by that young Cuban fella, Hilario Candela.
Very privileged to have had the opportunity to design the stadium in 1962. I was 27 years old. A living sculpture, that's what I was looking for. Something that was very unique, that would be timeless. I never had an idea that it would be a landmark. I never had an idea that we'll go through the history we went through. The original paper was to be the first purposely designed boat racing facility. We knew that we needed a protection against the bright sun and the hot sun. So the need came about to have a wonderful cover. They had a wonderful sculpture, which is what this is, which is all very curvilinear, but it's all done with straight lines. So a lot of that history, all history of Miami is permanently cast right there. I think from the very beginning, from day one, people fell in love with the stadium. They decided to make it theirs. So the people in the community took ownership of the stadium. So a lot of the uses that happened right after the stadium was inaugurated, nobody had ideas that were going to happen. The stadium really adapted itself to whatever the community, wanted to do.
That roof swooping like a breaker frozen mid-crash, stretching 260 feet, held up by slanted pillars that looked like they could stare down a hurricane. They called it Brutalist, but to me it was Miami, raw, open, built for the heat and the thrill. Me and my pals, we crammed into the stands, 6,000 of us, yelling as those hydroplanes tore through Biscayne Bay. Boats like Miss U.S. and Miss Bardall skipping across the water at 150 miles an hour, throwing spray that sparkled like fire in the sun. It was electric, like the whole world was alive right there. But that first race, it cut deep. Jimmy Tapp, a racer with grit in his grin, crashed in the heats, gone just like that. The crowd hushed, but the boats kept flying. That's how it was. Danger was the price of the show, and we were hooked. I went back every chance I got, chasing that rush season after season. By 65, I was bringing Ellie, my sweetheart. She'd show up in her yellow sundress, hair caught in a scarf, laughing as we split a Coke under that big roof. The shade kept us cool, the view kept us dreaming. Those boats screamed by, and I'd steal glances at her, thinking she outshone the bay itself. In 67, they were filming that Elvis flick, Clam Bake, right on the water. Ellie swore she spotted him, riding a hydroplane like he owned the waves. I teased her, said she was seeing things, but I loved how her eyes lit up, telling me. We got married that fall, right after the races. Felt like the stadium was part of us, holding our story in its bones. It wasn't just the boats. That place was a heartbeat. Sunrise gatherings, the bay glowing like gold, concerts on that floating stage. Saw the Greater Miami Philharmonic in 66, playing for kids who'd never heard music like that. By 72, I took Ellie to see Nixon campaigning there, Sammy Davis Jr. stealing the show with that big old hug. Felt like the world was shifting right in front of us.
I would just like to say a couple of words. I am a Democrat for President Nixon and his re-election. I can only say the thing that motivated my change was a year of just collecting pure, unaffected facts.
I want to make this pledge to Sammy. I want to make it to everybody here, whether you happen to be black or white or young or old, and all of those who are listening. I believe in the American dream. Sammy Davis believes in it. We believe in it. because we've seen it come true in our own lives. This is your first boat, and years from now, I just hope you can all look back and say it was one of your best boats. Thank you.
The stadium was where we all came together, Cubans, locals, tourists, everybody mixing like the city itself. It was our spot where Miami's spirit ran wild. But nothing stays golden. By the 80s, the crowds thinned out. The boats were too fast, too deadly. People got scared. Places like the Miami Arena started pulling folks away. I kept going, even after Ellie got sick. I'd sit in those stands alone, watching the last hydroplanes, hearing her voice in the wind. Then Andrew hit in '92, that damn hurricane. It ripped through the stadium, cracked the pilings, left it broken. They called it unsafe, locked it up, and walked away. I'd drive by over the years, see graffiti climbing the walls, the concrete crumbling like it was tired. Felt like losing her all over again. I'm 82 now, old but still kicking, and I've lived to see folks fighting for her. They fixed the pilings in '24, poured millions to keep her standing. They're talking about bringing her back, concerts, maybe races, a new chapter, but it's a fight. Money's tangled up, folks bickering, some big shots legal mess slowing things down. Still, she's there, that old stadium, tough as me, holding all my yesterdays.
The stadium's story began in the early 1960s, during Miami's post-war tourism boom. The Matheson family, prominent local philanthropists, donated nearly 1 million square meters of land on Virginia Key, stipulating its use for marine sports. The city of Miami, eager to elevate its global profile, envisioned a venue that would draw crowds to the water's edge. The project, dedicated to Commodore Ralph Middleton Monroe, a pioneer of Biscayne Bay sailing, promised to blend function with bold design. Designed by 28-year-old Cuban architect Hilario Candela, the stadium's Brutalist concrete structure featured a 326-foot cantilevered roof, the longest unsupported concrete span of its time. Built by the Millman Construction Company in just over a year, the $2 million project included a dredged basin for a 1-mile oval race course. Completed in December 1963, the stadium seated 6,566 spectators and hosted its first powerboat races and concerts shortly after. Politically, the project sailed through approvals with little resistance. City leaders, including Mayor William Wolfarth, saw it as a tourism booster, funded by city bonds and the Matheson land donation. Coordination with Miami-Dade County ensured the site's transfer, with a clause requiring perpetual marine use or reversion to county control. For nearly 3 decades, the stadium thrived. It hosted powerboat races, concerts by legends like The Who and Jimmy Buffett, Easter sunrise services, and political events. Its open-air acoustics and waterfront views made it a cultural hub.
And another type of marathon, one for racing boats, is scheduled for Sunday at the Miami Marine Stadium. It's the annual Mike Gordon 100 Grand National Powerboat Race. More than 30 of the top boats from across the nation are vying for the $30,000 in prize money. Local drivers Duff Daly, Bill Soroy, and Bob Donahue are listed among the favorites. This event kicks off the U.S. Grand National Racing Powerboat Racing Circuit for this year. Bob Jackson, Channel 4 Sports.
From its opening, the stadium's 1-mile oval basin in Biscayne Bay hosted thrilling powerboat races that defined Miami's waterfront culture. With boats reaching speeds over 70 miles per hour, their engines reverberating off the concrete roof, the venue drew thousands to events like the Orange Bowl Regatta, a nationally televised spectacle tied to Miami's holiday festivities. The Bill Munsey Invitational showcased top unlimited hydroplane racers, while the ESPN All-American Challenge Series featured diverse classes from inboard to outboard. The Budweiser Hydroplane Regatta, with its final event in 1990, marked the close of an era. The Champion Spark Plug Regatta and Sea Circus of the 1960s blended speed with family-friendly spectacle. The stadium even gained Hollywood fame, starring in the 1967 Elvis Presley film Clambake, with a dramatic speedboat race filmed in its basin. Among the competitors, tunnel boat legend Bill Seabold stood out, securing multiple victories during the Mercury racing era. He raced alongside rivals like Reggie Fountain and teams like Miss Budweiser, their Mercury versus Outboard Marine Corporation duels creating high-stakes drama, yet the sport's intensity came with risks. The stadium saw 5 fatalities over its history, earning its basin a somber reputation as hallowed ground. On opening day, December 28, 1963, racer James W. Tapp lost his life in a crash during the Orange Bowl Regatta. His SK-class boat wrecked in a moment captured in photographs. Collisions, mid-air flips, and splintering boats were common, the dangers contributing to the sport's fading popularity by the late 1970s. By the 1980s, racing declined due to safety concerns, new venue competition, and regulatory shifts, with the last major event in 1990.
of Miami, Florida.
There's something new here at Miami's Marine Stadium. It's not a new launch for racing boats or a strange type of concert stage, but a ring for boxing and wrestling on a floating barge. Chris Dundee, whose lease expired after 21 years on Miami Beach, was forced to find a new site after turning away hundreds in 4 previous shows at Bayfront Auditorium. The master promoter hopes to fill the 6,500 seats here for tonight's inaugural wrestling card. Although a new site for an old sport, the stands are covered and so is the ring. So even in bad weather, the fans should suffer no ill effects. Or the wrestlers, as long as they remember to take their seasick pills. This is Jane Chastain from Marine Stadium for Channel 4 Sports.
Boxing events at the Miami Marine Stadium began in 1972 and were part of the venue's diversification beyond its primary purpose of powerboat racing. Marine Stadium's floating stage and open-air design drew music legends and thousands of spectators, creating memorable concerts against the backdrop of Biscayne Bay. Stars like Jimmy Buffett, Queen, The Who, and Ray Charles performed to packed crowds, with boats docking alongside for a distinctive waterfront experience. The Beach Boys energized a 1970s travel convention, while Dave Brubeck and Fela Kuti delivered jazz and Afro-pop performances. From free summer rock concerts featuring bands like Rapid Transit to Arthur Fiedler's 1965 Boston Pops event paired with powerboat races, the stadium's acoustics and skyline views elevated every performance, solidifying its role as Miami's premier music venue. Political and civic gatherings also thrived at the stadium, blending community engagement with historic moments. In 1972, Sammy Davis Jr. introduced President Richard Nixon at a campaign rally, his onstage hug symbolizing a notable outreach to black voters during Nixon's re-election. Weekly Catholic masses for Cuban exiles in the 1960s and 1970s provided a communal space for new arrivals, while annual Easter sunrise services united faith leaders and politicians. These events, alongside local meetings and graduations, underscored the stadium's significance as a civic platform, where Miami's diverse voices converged by the water's edge. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew struck, and the city of Miami declared the stadium unsafe, citing building code violations. It closed abruptly, later studies revealing neglect, not storm damage, as the primary issue.
When I started as a young council member in 1991, the Miami Marine Stadium was still a jewel of our city. Its floating stage and concrete arches a symbol of Miami's ambition. But after Hurricane Andrew hit in '92, everything changed. The city shut it down, claiming the storm had wrecked it beyond repair. I was skeptical. Something felt off. We were drowning in recovery efforts with thousands of homes and businesses in ruins, but the rush to condemn the stadium seemed too convenient. It was losing money, sure, bleeding cash for years from neglect, with corrosion eating at its pilings. Yet when the insurance engineers from Simpson Gumpertz and Hager inspected it, they found no storm damage, just $2 to $3 million in repairs needed for years of ignored maintenance. That report should have been a wake-up call, but City Hall buried it. I watched, frustrated, as the city tried to wash its hands of the place. They pushed for demolition, even securing $1 million from FEMA to tear it down, only for the insurance findings to force them to repay it. No one dug deeper. No real investigation into why the unsafe label stuck, despite the evidence. We were too busy rebuilding elsewhere, and the stadium, already a financial burden, was an easy target to abandon. I argued to save it, to honor its history of races, concerts, and rallies, but the appetite wasn't there. Talk of corruption swirled. Andrew's aftermath bred plenty of shady deals citywide, but no proof pinned the stadium's fate to anything beyond neglect and bad priorities. Now, decades later, seeing preservationists fight for it while costs soar past $60 million, I'm still angry. We let a landmark rot, and the truth about its closure got swept away in the storm's chaos.
Es por eso que Miami es para usted. Para un divertido fin de semana, asista a las carreras de botes de motor en el Estadio Marino de Miami.
Abandoned, the stadium became a canvas for graffiti artists and a haunt for urban explorers. Yet its architectural significance endured. In 2008, it earned local historic landmark status, followed by inclusion on the National Register of Historic Places in 2018. The Friends of Miami Marine Stadium, formed in 2008, led revival efforts, securing grants and political support. By 2010, Miami-Dade County pledged $3 million, contingent on matching funds, while private donors like Gloria Estefan contributed. Restoration has faced challenges. Initial cost estimates of $40 million in 2017 rose to over $60 million by 2025, driven by inflation and scope. Phase 1 repairs, including pilings, were completed in 2023, with a $2.4 million grant from the Florida Inland Navigation District and city funds. Political debates, traffic concerns, and a stalled 2025 referendum have delayed full renovation. Critics call it a potential white elephant, while supporters highlight its economic and cultural promise. Today, the Miami Marine Stadium stands as a symbol of resilience. With partial repairs done and new funding plans in motion, its future hinges on balancing heritage with practicality. Once a beacon of Miami's ambition, it awaits its next chapter as a revitalized waterfront landmark.